Hello and welcome to some more Star Citizen. Well, sort of. This is going to be a bit more hardwarey and general gaming this time, though lots of Star Citizen bits here too. One of the most regular questions I get asked is about hardware for Star Citizen, ranging from what's the minimum requirements to what budget options are there to is it worth buying more RAM. This video is going to cover some alternatives and some of my opinions on what's available at this stage hardware-wise and other stuff that you can do. A little bit on hardware, the Nvidia 20 series, budget builds, graphics card enclosures, and cloud-based gaming, as well as Star Citizen's system requirements. Star Citizen is not a sit-down-and-play game yet. By that I mean only a small percentage of its gameplay mechanics are accessible to play, there's no in-game solid progression for the most part, and it's very unoptimized. However, thousands of players actually play regularly, typically in an org or play with friends or whatever, and there's a lot going on with it even now. Star Citizen is a hungry beast when it comes to hardware, probably one of the most, if not the most, hungry game when it comes to hardware requirements. In 3.2, which is the current alpha, you can expect frame rates in the persistent universe to range from 25 to 60 for a high-end PC, and under 20 for a lower-end one. You need at least 12 gigs of RAM, but really 16 gigabytes is recommended. Installing Star Citizen on an SSD is essential if you don't want horrendous load times. CPU-wise, I've had success on a vast range of Intel i5 and i7 processors over the last 5 years, so they all seem to work pretty damn well. And I've used a much more limited range of AMD CPUs, but pretty much anything that's semi-modern should suffice. Graphics card wise, on the Nvidia side, the 970 series, 980s, 1060s, they all seem perfectly viable for 1080p, running all the settings on the highest. For 1440p gaming or running stuff at much higher frame rates, you'll want to be looking at a 1070 or 1080 at the moment. On the Nvidia sort of side, 1050s or below aren't really viable unless you want to play below 1080p and with some big concessions. This is really true of all games at the moment. On the AMD side, I find anything RX 570 or below as well, probably a little bit underpowered. You can still get solid results from R9 290s, 390s, and the RX 480 series though. With the new 20 series of Nvidia cards coming out though, there's likely to be a drop in price on a lot of cards. So bear that in mind. I will be checking out the GeForce RTX 2080s at some point, but it's very much my recommendation at the moment not to pre-order, not until you've seen actual third-party hands-on reviews of how these cards perform, because only very few games in the short term especially are going to be able to make use of their new technologies and ray tracing. Stats and data is everything, and we don't have any of that yet. Because of the 2080 and 2080 Ti being released at the same time, also it potentially implies that the lifespan of the card before they release the next series of like the 21 series or whatever isn't too far away. So that's worth bearing in mind as well. To me, it implies that there's only a year or 18 months before they release another card. Also really look at what sort of resolution and frame rate you are after, because getting a second-hand 1070 or 1080 card is a very solid option in my opinion. Expect a lot of deals on eBay come 20th of September when those 20 series cards are released. After CitizenCon, I will be grilling CIG on ray tracing, Vulkan, and DirectX 12, and other technologies that they may be implementing, and also ones that they might rule out. So I just want to get kind of an understanding of where they think, is there a potential ray tracing will get adopted in the future? What exactly is their plan for optimization? Are they going to definitely go for Vulkan and DirectX 12? Now, things like that, stuff that we kind of want at this stage, an understanding of how the game's going to be optimized, what's going to be integrated, all that sort of stuff. If you are looking to buy something like a GeForce 1060 as well, beware of fake cards that are extremely cheap on eBay. I saw some for 50 quid that said they were new, but they are literally, well, appear to be 760s, so GeForce 760s that have been reflashed to look like 1060s. Warning signs of fake cards are extreme cheapness, odd specs, and VGA ports typically. Budget builds and workstations. If you are looking for a gaming PC and have nothing or are on an extremely limited budget, I can recommend potentially buying an older workstation. I actually have a video where I've done this already in the past, but I do occasionally pick up workstations for other people for gaming systems, and I've just picked up another one for myself, a Z600 HP workstation. We'll talk about that in a second. So you can pick up like HP Z400s, Z600s, or Dell T3500s or T5500s, sometimes fully working for under £100 or $100 on eBay. It's worth having a look around. Sometimes you find very overpriced ones. It's always worth waiting and having a look and shopping around if you're going to buy something like this. Some really quick buying advice though. You want at least a single Xeon X55 series of processor, though often you'll find that you can get dual CPUs actually on eBay, which is great. Try to get as much RAM as you can. Typically the systems range from about 12 gigs, but try to go for at least 16 gigs. Some have 48 gigs. One of the things you really want to check is the power supply that comes with it. 650 watts is plenty. 525 watts is fine for most cards, though I wouldn't want to put a very high-powered card in there. You can then pick up a cheap SSD for your operating system and your main games. And I recommend eBay again for a graphics card. You can grab 1060s for around £120. So sort of like between 100 and 150 typically. Please do a little bit of research on any components you buy. Make sure they are working as well. And once you receive them, buying RAM for workstations I find a bit more tricky sometimes, and it requires a bit more research if you need more. I picked up a Z600 for £90 recently, and that had two X56 60 processors in it, which are absolutely fantastic for my needs. It had some other parts in it that I didn't need, like an old Quadro, which I'll flog and get some money back even, and I had a spare 1070, so the system is actually perfectly fine for me for a secondary system or a render station, or if my main computer exploded, I could go onto that for gaming and for recording. I'll link the build that I did a while ago in the description below, but I'll also try and get a article up on boredgamer.co.uk. I'm going through what I've done previously, what my buying advice is for that sort of jazz, and budget builds in general. Enclosures. So if you have a laptop or a notebook with a Thunderbolt 3 port, then an enclosure might be an option for you. Gigabyte were very kind to send me some of these enclosures upon request, a 1070, a 1080, and an RX 580 enclosure, all of which work pretty damn well with Star Citizen. But basically, these are graphics cards enclosed in a mini utility station or dock with extra USBs, in fact, 3 USB 3s, and a quick charge USB port. And it will actually even charge your laptop if your laptop supports PD 3.0. With the enclosure for compatible laptops, you just need to plug in a kettle lead to that enclosure and then plug in the Thunderbolt cable between the laptop and the enclosure, and then it's pretty much ready to go. This means that your device now has access to a high-powered graphics card. I've been using this on a Dell Ultrabook to work and play Star Citizen on. Now, due to the latency and bandwidth of Thunderbolt, you do lose a percentage of the card's performance over having them plugged in like you would on a desktop directly to a motherboard, but these Gigabyte enclosures are very affordable now and an option for those with limited space, or if you're on the move, or you have an appropriate laptop, or you don't want to buy a whole new PC. You can connect external monitors, mice and keyboards and use it like you would a desktop. Bear your specs in mind though. With my Ultrabook, for example, it does only have 8 gigs of RAM. So if I'm playing Star Citizen, for example, I'd have to play at 1080p and knock some of these settings down if I want to play in the persistent universe anyway, though Arena Commander and Star Marine would work fine. And to be honest, most other games work pretty damn well with just 8 gigs of RAM, as long as you're not doing loads in the background or anything like that. Close Chrome, for example. The enclosures are not magic, they are just a graphics card, and temper your expectations accordingly. That said, Alpha 3.3 and object container streaming with Star Citizen may go a long way to alleviating the RAM and VRAM issues and hungriness with the game. For those of you that are RGB minded, the Gigabyte enclosures do allow you to customize the lights how you want. They are also extremely portable, so can be easily carried around with your laptop. In conjunction with Shadow, I'll actually be taking my GTX 1080 enclosure and the Ultrabook around with me to a private LAN next month, so I can work from there and play games as well. Links to more information on these enclosures down below and where to get them. Shadow, as always, Shadow is an option too for those of you with good enough internet connections. Shadow is a cloud-based service that connects you to a gaming PC, and then you can stream to your device with that gaming PC, whether it be a lesser PC, a laptop, tablet, or phone. It's a subscription-based service, so you don't have to worry about upgrades. They upgrade that service regularly, both the software and the hardware of those systems. Shadow is available in France, Germany, United States, United Kingdom, Belgium, Luxembourg, and Switzerland, with data centers in Paris and California. If you check that out and decide that it is something that is appropriate for you, then using the code BoredGamer will get you 10 of your chosen currency off as discount. Star Citizen is a couple of years away from beta, but there's still a load of players that jump in now even to have fun. The game's quarterly major alpha updates giving an injection of new ships, gameplay area, content, and gameplay loops. There are plenty of other games to play in the meantime too, that everything we've discussed is entirely appropriate for too. I'll do updates from time to time with new hardware and with optimizations and new updates for Star Citizen and that sort of stuff as well. And just remember that there's always going to be reason to wait on upgrading hardware. It's always the best choice. But when you do decide to buy something, just bear in mind what your needs are and when the new hardware is coming out. If it's very proximate, then it is worth waiting to see other prices drop. When the GeForce 2080s come out, for example, you're going to see a drop in price of other cards, or at least lots being sold on eBay. And you'll see the same for the 9 series of Intel processors coming out soon. Every month we have a giveaway for a ship. This time it's for a Saber Raven. All you need to do is be subscribed to my YouTube channel and comment on any of my videos during the month. Each video gives you another chance to win. If you have any questions, suggestions, or want to discuss anything we talked about, please put it in the comments below. A massive thank you to my Patreons and YouTube sponsors. You guys genuinely rock. Please don't forget to like and subscribe for more Star Citizen news, and I'll see you in the verse.